Yeah, so welcome, Ashley. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So, what's your professional background and how did you discover TRE?
Yeah. So I work primarily as a birth worker, a full spectrum birth worker, which means I support folks in pregnancy and birth and labor. I also support folks with miscarriage and abortion and postpartum care. So the full spectrum of pregnancy outcomes and experiences. I'm a fertility and sexuality and reproductive health educator, and so I teach a lot of classes on birth control, bodies and pregnancy, sex, babies, all things reproduction. And I'm also a TRE provider and just started my somatic experiencing practitioner training this month.
Interesting. And how did you discover TRE?
I came to TRE initially for my own body, for my own journey with anxiety. And I was doing some work with Alex Green. We were doing somatic experiencing work. And he suggested TRE in one of our sessions. I had never heard of it before, but I was open to trying it. And the first time I did TRE, I didn't super love it. It felt, it was hard for me. It was hard to let go of control of my body, and it just brought up some big feelings and some big stuff. And I was a little hesitant to keep going, but um, Alex, in his wisdom, persisted, and we did more TRE together slowly. Um, and sure enough, it started feeling really useful and really effective. And yeah, I think has been probably like the biggest help in my journey with anxiety and being in communication with my body. The most useful tool so far.
Mhm. And what kind of changes were you noticing in your own body when you were beginning to explore tremoring for yourself?
Yeah, my in my body, my anxiety loves to live in my chest, in my throat. And so, as I sort of explored TRE and explored the tremor mechanism and also explored just my nervous system in general, I found that I had a little bit more spaciousness here. I had a little bit more flexibility. It was incremental at first, um, but slowly but surely kind of just found like, ooh, I can work with this. It's not stuck. It's not immovable. There's some flexibility here. And that's not to say that like now my anxiety's gone and everything's great and my body feels perfect all the time. It doesn't. But I have this relationship now that I think I got to through TRE with my body, with my nervous system. Um, that's been a real game changer, that relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And what drew you to Red Beer's TRE certification training? So you mentioned working with Alex, and what made you then like decide that you wanted to become a TRE provider for yourself?
Yeah, it was a little bit like off the cuff. I knew that I wanted to kind of start moving in the direction of trauma work and somatic work. I felt like it would be a really great fit with the work that I already do. Um, and I wasn't necessarily planning on starting that journey in 2021 when I did the training, but I think I just saw the the announcement in one of the emails and had that weekend free and also was not on call for a birth, which was rare for me at that time. And it sort of just felt like, yeah, I think I want to do this. I think I'm going to sign up last minute and see how this goes. So it certainly wasn't like planned out business move by any means. It was it was really kind of a last minute decision. But I'm so
Mhm.
glad I did.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what were your like biggest fears or doubts before signing up?
Yeah. I Well, I kind of knew what to expect in terms of the practice since I had done it before. Um, I don't know if I had necessarily fears. I think I wasn't sure if it was going to fit into my work. I wasn't sure how um, yeah, how to integrate that into the work that I already do. How that would go if people would want to work with me or be interested in that offering. Um, so yeah, I definitely had um, some things that I wasn't sure about going
Mm.
into it. Um, but I don't think I had any fears necessarily. Just excitement, which sometimes feels like fear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Can be very similar.
yeah,
Cool. And what was your experience taking the course itself?
yeah. It was
How
great.
was the training? Hmm.
Yeah, it was so great. Um, my cohort was all virtual. We were all online, so it was folks from all over the place, and that was really interesting to get to meet people from not just the Midwest, from like all over the world. Um, and the virtual modules, well, this was maybe a fear, sitting in front of the computer for hours and hours all weekend. Um, but it was so engaging. The content was so useful, and there were so many opportunities to practice what we were learning in small groups with each other. Um, the conversation was really incredible. And so it didn't feel, to me at least, like sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours Saturday, Sunday. It
Yeah.
felt, yeah, it felt really like engaging and alive. And I was like wanting more at at the end of the modules too. So
Great.
it was a
Yeah.
great experience. Yeah.
Hmm. And how are you like using and applying TRE in your practice at the moment?
Yeah. It looks a few different ways. As a birth worker, I'm definitely bringing this into the labor and delivery room with my clients. One of the most common places where people have experienced shaking, at least in my experience already in their body, is after giving birth. Like almost always when I talk about TRE with people who have had babies, they go, "Oh yeah, I totally super shaky after my baby." And what happened is the nurses were like, "Oh, you're cold. Here's a bunch of blankets. We'll try and like stop that from happening."
Mm.
Um, so I'm able to bring some of this knowledge into that space and say, actually, like this is your wise, beautiful body doing exactly what it needs to do right now, and it's okay to just let your body shake. It's okay that this is happening. I've also done this work postpartum with the families that I work with. Having a baby is a stressful experience. Even the most easy, straightforward, supported births can be traumatic. And so to be able to offer this kind of support in that space for families, I'm really glad to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I also work with folks that aren't postpartum or aren't thinking about having kiddos, and that's been fascinating work too, just to get to know different people's nervous systems and hold space for their tremors and what their bodies are going through. In a lot of ways, it's actually like being in a TRE session with someone is really similar to supporting somebody in labor. It's something that the body is
Mhm.
doing on its own.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can be really scary. Sometimes it can be fun or funny or just interesting. And so I kind of show up in the same way for a lot of the different things I do, holding space, asking questions, validating what's normal, helping to pause things if they need to be paused. Yeah, so it's been like a really beautiful integration for me.
Yeah, wow, very interesting. What are some of the like biggest breakthroughs you have seen in working with clients?
Um, yeah, I don't, maybe I haven't been doing this long enough to have seen big breakthroughs, but I think what I have seen is just slow, subtle, shifts in the ways that people relate to their body, relate to their nervous system, relate to their anxiety or their depression or their trauma. Um, yeah, I would love to see some big breakthrough moments. And what I think I see most often is people learning how to self-regulate, people learning how to slow down and take breaks and take good care of themselves. Um, and I guess in some ways that is like pretty breakthrough. That is pretty big to take care of
Yeah,
oneself. Yeah.
yeah, and it also sounds like a very like sustainable way of like I guess like working through your blockages, traumas, whatever. And yeah, I think most transformation takes time, so it's
Yeah.
usually doesn't happen overnight. But if you have a practice that you can work with also on your own, which TRE is, that's certainly very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. What would you tell someone who is considering taking the TRE certification training or becoming a TRE provider?
Yeah, I would say do it. Well, I would say, I mean, I would say do it is the thing. What has been surprising for me, but also not surprising at all, is how much learning this, becoming a provider, offering this to my community has affected me and my body and my relationship with my nervous system and myself. Um, it's not just like information dump and now you're the provider. It was really like a pretty transformative experience for me to go through the training and to do the personal sessions, to practice with my colleagues, and yeah, I feel so grateful both to be able to offer this service, but also just like for what this practice has done in my own life, in my own body. So I guess I would say don't sign up for this if you're not interested in like doing that. If you don't want your own personal change, then maybe this isn't the right practice. But I don't know why anybody wouldn't want wouldn't want that. Yeah, it's been a really special path to be on. I feel super grateful to be doing this work.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you.